It was a hot day in Georgia in 1980, when four men pulled off something that had never been done before in the state. They managed to escape from death row, but they couldn't escape the Grim Reaper and their own karma. Let's talk about it. It was 6 years before the attack, on November the 21st, 1973, when Troy Leon Gregg and Dennis Weaver were hitchhiking through Florida. At least, they pretended to. In truth, they had much darker plans. Unfortunately, a car stopped to help the men out. In it were Fred Edward Simons and his friend, Bob Durwood Moore. Troy didn't hesitate for long. Only a few minutes after he entered the car, he shot both Fred and Bob. Troy and Dennis stole the car, and the little money the other men had with them. But they didn't get far, because Fred and Bob's families reported them missing within a few hours. Shortly after the news came on the radios, witnesses reported seeing the car to the police, and the two men were apprehended. Troy's case got pushed all the way to the Supreme Court, that found him guilty on the 30th of August, 1976, and sentenced him to death via electric chair. The moment he entered the prison, Troy already started his escape plan. And he found fellow killers that also wanted to escape. So the four men, Troy, Timothy McCorkadale, Johnny Johnson, and David Jarrell, put their plan in motion. A corrupt prison guard gave them patches and materials to change their clothes so they looked like the guards' uniforms. He also bought them saws, which they used to get through the bars on their windows. On their way out, they even encountered prison guards who asked them who they were and what they were doing. The man just told them that they were doing a safety inspection, and that was enough for the guards to let them go. And the four men left the prison through the fire escape. A car left by David Jarrell's aunt was waiting for them in the parking lot, and the escape seemed perfect. There was just a slight problem. Troy liked to drink. In fact, he was a raging alcoholic, and he only wanted one thing now that he was free: a stiff drink. After the man stopped to pick alcohol up, Troy in his drunken state decided to call the local newspaper, the Albany Herald, and brag about the escape. He also told them that he'd rather be dead than go back. As it turned out, he would get his wish. Troy and the other men left the state of Georgia the day they escaped the prison, before the police could catch up with them, and drove to North Carolina. There, they made their way to a local biker bar, the Outlaw Motorcycle Club, where David Jarrell was friends with one of its members. What exactly happened in that bar is still unknown today. What we know for sure is that Troy decided to get handsy with one of the waitresses. After the woman tried to stop his advances, he became violent, which turned out to be a fatal decision in the biker bar. A man named Flement and his friend James Hornet became involved, and one of Troy's prison buddies, Timothy McCorkadale, also stepped in. The three men beat the drunk Troy and kicked him in the head. Afterwards, they threw his body into the Catawba River that crossed behind the bar. This is where the local police found the body only a few hours later. The forensic pathologist later stated that Troy suffocated during the beating. The bikers were later acquitted in court because of a lack of evidence. Troy's co-conspirators were found 3 days after Troy died in the house of William Flement and brought back to prison. This time, they didn't escape their fate.